Do you think the American dream is dying when millions wake up on the sidewalks, not knowing where their next meal will come from? This is the daily reality in some states that sparkle like diamonds on the surface but are hiding deep poverty and a serious homelessness crisis. What is the cause, and is your state safe? In this video, we explore the 10 fastest collapsing states in the United States, where economic and social challenges are shaking entire communities. From the highest poverty rates in the country to streets filled with homeless people, this journey will take you through shocking numbers that will make you question the future of the country. Start exploring now. Mississippi. Mississippi, a state renowned for its southern charm and soulful blues, hits a few sour notes when it comes to poverty and homelessness. With 19% of the population living below the poverty line, the highest rate in the country, it's tough to tap your foot to a cheerful tune. The state's economy, heavily reliant on agriculture and the service sector, means there are few steady jobs. The median household income is just $55,556, while the unemployment rate stands at 3.1%, making Mississippi's job market as reliable as a cardboard umbrella in a storm. But what's the real pain? Many residents are struggling to make ends meet while juggling low wages and rising costs, often spending more than half their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Education doesn't fare much better. Ranked 49th nationwide in overall child welfare, Mississippi schools leave too many residents ill-prepared for higher-paying careers. This creates a vicious cycle of poverty that's harder to break than an old family recipe for deep-fried everything. Healthcare access is as elusive as a summer breeze in the Mississippi Delta. With 13.7% of adults uninsured and 36% living in areas with limited medical services, getting care often feels like winning the lottery, minus the jackpot. Even grocery shopping is a logistical feat in Mississippi. 20% of residents live in food deserts, with many driving 40 miles or more to access fresh produce. Meanwhile, a modest two-bedroom apartment averages $1,000 per month, while most low-income families can only afford $500, turning the housing gap into a canyon. But it's not all cornbread gloom and doom. Initiatives like the Mississippi Housing Partnership and Mississippi Works are striving to rewrite the state's story. These programs help families secure affordable housing and provide job training in industries like renewable energy. Organizations such as the Mississippi Food Network serve over 430,000 people annually. And speaking of neighboring states with troubles of their own, buckle up. We're crossing into a state battling hurricanes, homelessness, and poverty rates nearly as staggering. Stay tuned for what lies ahead. Louisiana. Louisiana, a state famous for jazz music, gumbo, and Mardi Gras, has a vibrant rhythm that can make even the dullest Monday feel like a celebration. However, beneath its lively surface, Louisiana struggles with a grim reality. It has the second highest poverty rate in the United States, standing at nearly 19%. The economy here is as fragile as a Mardi Gras bead, beautiful on the surface but quick to shatter under pressure. Over-reliance on oil, gas, and tourism has left thousands of people unemployed whenever oil prices drop or hurricanes hit the coastline. Speaking of hurricanes, Louisiana seems to be Mother Nature's punching bag. From Hurricane Katrina, which displaced 1.2 million people and caused catastrophic damages totaling $161 billion, to Hurricane Ida, which added another $75 billion in losses, this state barely has time to catch its breath or keep its roofs intact. Housing doesn't make things any easier. In New Orleans, where the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment ranges between $1,312 and $1,852 per month, families earning the state's median income of $58,229 are left praying to the gods for affordable living. Many people spend more than 30% of their income on rent, forcing them to make tough choices like paying for housing, food, or healthcare. Speaking of healthcare, we haven't even touched on Louisiana's uninsured rate of 10%, one of the highest in the nation. But for single mother Marie in Baton Rouge, these statistics are all too real. Juggling two jobs and bringing home just $2,800 a month, she skips meals so her kids can eat while waiting for her hurricane-damaged home to be repaired. With a weary expression, she admits, "There are days I feel like I'm letting my kids down," making you wonder just how many other Marys are out there. The fallout doesn't stop at individual families. Louisiana's struggles have fueled a rise in homelessness, with 3,150 people reported homeless in 2024. It also holds the highest violent crime rate in the United States, according to the FBI. Yet amidst the chaos, there's a glimmer of hope. Nonprofit organizations like the Louisiana Housing Alliance are working to provide more affordable housing, while the Make It Right Foundation has rebuilt 150 sustainable homes in the lower Ninth Ward of New Orleans. There's an irony that not everyone notices. In a state renowned for its resilience, it's grassroots efforts that keep Louisiana's spirit alive as larger systems crumble. From Louisiana's hurricane-ravaged communities, we head west to a state grappling with a very different crisis. Here, homelessness and poverty disproportionately impact Native Americans and Hispanic communities, where cultural heritage collides with systemic neglect. If you're ready to move on, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. New Mexico. New Mexico, the land of charm, seems to be luring fewer wallets these days. With a poverty rate of 17.8%, one of the highest in the country, the state is a stark reminder that beauty doesn't pay the bills. Residents are often faced with a maddening choice: take a low-paying job miles away or stay in under-resourced areas stuck in a never-ending financial disaster. Rural isolation is no joke when job opportunities are scarcer than shade in the desert. The unemployment rate here is 4.4%, and the median household income of $62,125 can barely keep up with rising rents. Speaking of housing, more than 21% of households spend more than half their income on rent, with affordable options as elusive as the Yeti in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Healthcare is not much easier to find in this vast state. More than 1 million New Mexicans live in areas with such a shortage of healthcare workers that a routine doctor's visit can become a road trip. For seniors like Juanita, a grandmother raising 3 grandchildren on $1,200 a month in Social Security, this is not only inconvenient but a recipe for misery. Her mobile home needs repairs, but every penny goes to keeping the electricity running. "I just want to give my grandchildren a better life," she says, her voice shaking. Her struggle mirrors that of thousands across the state, especially in Native American communities. 30% of Navajo Nation households still lack running water, a statistic that feels more like 1824 rather than 2024. Despite its cultural riches, New Mexico's challenges are piling up faster than dust on an Albuquerque windowsill. Homelessness increased 48% in 2023 alone compared to the previous year, and the state ranks 49th in high school graduation rates. Amid the hardships, however, there is a glimmer of hope. Organizations like the New Mexico Coalition to End Homelessness are providing rental assistance to thousands, and federal grants are finally reaching Native American reservations to fund basic utilities and housing improvements. If resilience were currency, New Mexico would be one of the wealthiest states in the Union. From the New Mexico desert, we travel east to a state where the collapse of the coal industry has left families stranded and communities struggling to survive. What happens when an industry that once fueled the nation's prosperity suddenly disappears? Let's find out. West Virginia. Oh, West Virginia. Affectionately called Almost Heaven, it might want to consider rebranding itself as Almost Hopeless, at least for residents struggling to get by. Once powered by coal mines and the sweat of hardworking miners, the state is now on a slippery slope with a poverty rate of 16.7% and a declining population. The coal industry, which once employed thousands of workers and kept the lights on, has seen its production plummet from 158 million tons in 2008 to just 81 million tons in 2021. As of 2023, the industry employs only about 14,014 workers, leaving behind ghost towns where thriving communities once stood. Housing prices are surprisingly low, with the average home costing $126,600. But don't celebrate just yet. 22.3% of residents are still considered cost-burdened, meaning even these inexpensive homes are out of reach for many. Adding to the challenge is an aging population left behind by younger family members who have fled to areas with better prospects and fewer potholes. Exacerbating the state's decline is its struggle with opioid addiction and chronic health issues on an alarming scale. In 2023, opioid overdose deaths reached 71.4 per 100,000 people, one of the highest rates in the nation. And while rural homelessness isn't as visible as the tent cities and urban centers, it is no less real, with a 24% increase since 2021 as families double up in cars and motels. Arizona, often celebrated for its breathtaking landscapes and vibrant sunsets, hides a much darker reality behind its stunning vistas. The state has seen a rapid increase in homelessness, with a 23% spike in 2023 alone. Phoenix, its capital, now has one of the largest homeless populations in the country. Housing in Arizona is a growing crisis. The average rent for a two-bedroom apartment in Phoenix is $1,600, while the median household income stands at $65,913. Many families find themselves spending over 40% of their income on rent, leaving little room for essentials like food, healthcare, and transportation. Speaking of healthcare, the state's uninsured rate hovers at 10.2%, leaving hundreds of thousands without access to medical services. Rural areas are especially affected, with many residents traveling hundreds of miles just to see a doctor. This is compounded by extreme heat, which claims dozens of lives each year. In 2023, over 450 people died from heat-related illnesses in Arizona, a grim reminder of the state's harsh environment. For people like Carlos, a construction worker in Tucson earning just $2,500 a month, the struggle is all too real. "I work hard every day, but I still can't afford a decent place for my family," he says, his voice tinged with exhaustion. His story is echoed by countless others in the state, where even full-time work often isn't enough to make ends meet. California, the Golden State, is often associated with dreams of stardom, innovation, and wealth. But for many residents, it's more of a nightmare than a dream. With over 170,000 homeless people in 2024, California accounts for nearly 30% of the nation's homeless population. The state's housing crisis is at the core of the issue. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles is $2,700, while the median household income is $84,097. For low-income families, affording rent often means sacrificing basic necessities. In fact, nearly half of California renters are considered cost-burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Homeless encampments line the streets of major cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Skid Row in LA has become synonymous with the state's homelessness epidemic, with thousands living in tents, cars, and makeshift shelters. The situation is further exacerbated by the state's high cost of living. Gas prices are consistently among the highest in the nation, and even groceries cost significantly more than the national average. For families like the Johnsons in Oakland, who earn $4,500 a month, making ends meet is a constant struggle. "We've thought about leaving California, but where would we go? This is home," says Maria Johnson, a mother of three. Despite its wealth, California also struggles with healthcare accessibility. Approximately 7% of residents are uninsured, and in rural areas, finding a healthcare provider can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. There are efforts to address the crisis. The state has allocated billions of dollars toward affordable housing projects and homelessness prevention programs. Nonprofits like HomeAid and the Los Angeles Mission are working tirelessly to provide shelter and resources to those in Alaska. Alaska, the last frontier, is a land of rugged beauty and vast wilderness. However, for many of its residents, living here means enduring harsh realities that extend far beyond its sub-zero temperatures. With a poverty rate of 10.9% and some of the highest living costs in the nation, Alaska is struggling to provide opportunities for its residents. The state's economy has long been dependent on oil, but fluctuating oil prices have left it vulnerable. In 2023, Alaska's unemployment rate stood at 4.6%, higher than the national average. Meanwhile, job opportunities in rural areas are scarce, leaving many communities isolated and under-resourced. Housing is another significant challenge. In Anchorage, the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment is $1,850, while the median household income is $80,287. Many rural communities lack adequate housing, with families living in overcrowded conditions. For residents like Sarah in Bethel, finding a home that's warm and affordable feels like an impossible task. Healthcare access is a major issue in Alaska. Nearly 15% of residents live in areas with a severe shortage of healthcare providers. For Native Alaskan communities, the challenges are even greater, with limited access to hospitals and clinics. In remote villages, a medical emergency can mean waiting hours, or even days, for help to arrive. Homelessness is also on the rise. In 2024, over 1,900 Alaskans were reported homeless, with many seeking refuge in shelters or braving the elements in tents. The state's extreme climate makes this crisis even more urgent, as freezing temperatures can be deadly. Despite these challenges, Alaskans are known for their resilience. Initiatives like the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation are working to provide affordable housing, while nonprofit organizations like the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium are addressing healthcare disparities. These efforts offer a glimmer of hope in a state where survival often depends on community and resourcefulness. From Alaska's frozen landscapes, we head to a state where the collapse of a once thriving manufacturing industry has left families struggling to rebuild. Ohio. Ohio, once a powerhouse of American industry, now faces significant economic and social challenges. The decline of manufacturing has left many communities grappling with poverty, unemployment, and homelessness. The poverty rate in Ohio stands at 13.4%, and the median household income is $63,769. Cities like Cleveland and Dayton have been particularly hard hit, with entire neighborhoods falling into disrepair as factories shut down. The unemployment rate, while slightly below the national average at 3.9%, masks the reality of underemployment and low wages. Housing in Ohio is relatively affordable compared to other states, with the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment around $1,000. However, for low-income families, even this can be out of reach. In Cleveland, nearly 48% of renters are cost-burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Healthcare access is another challenge. Approximately 7.5% of Ohioans are uninsured, and rural areas face significant shortages of medical providers. For families like the Smiths in Appalachia, getting to a doctor often means a long drive on poorly maintained roads. Homelessness is a growing issue in Ohio, with over 10,000 people experiencing homelessness in 2024. Many live in shelters or doubled up with family and friends, while others are forced to sleep in cars or abandoned buildings. Despite these struggles, Ohio is working to rebuild. Programs like the Ohio Housing Finance Agency are helping families secure affordable housing, while initiatives like the Ohio Workforce Transformation Program aim to retrain workers for new industries. Cities like Columbus are seeing growth in technology and healthcare sectors, offering hope for a brighter future. From Ohio's industrial heartland, we journey to a state where natural disasters and economic inequality have left communities reeling. Florida. Florida, the Sunshine State, is famous for its beaches, theme parks, and vibrant nightlife. But behind the palm trees and tourist attractions lies a state grappling with significant challenges. Florida has one of the highest rates of homelessness in the country, with over 27,000 people experiencing homelessness in 2024. Cities like Miami and Tampa have seen sharp increases in the number of people living on the streets, as rising rents push families out of their homes. The average rent for a two-bedroom apartment in Miami is $2,400, while the median household income in Florida is $65,850. For many low-income families, housing costs consume more than half of their income, leaving little for other essentials. Florida is also vulnerable to natural disasters. Hurricanes like Ian and Idalia have caused billions of dollars in damages, leaving thousands of residents displaced. Recovery efforts are often slow, with many families waiting months, or even years, for assistance to rebuild their homes. Healthcare access is another concern. Approximately 12% of Floridians are uninsured, and many rural areas lack sufficient medical facilities. Seniors, who make up a significant portion of Florida's population, often struggle to access the care they need. Despite these challenges, Florida is fighting back. Programs like the Florida Housing Coalition are working to increase affordable housing, while disaster relief efforts aim to provide faster and more efficient support to communities in need. Nonprofits like Feeding South Florida are also stepping in to address food insecurity, ensuring families don't go hungry. Florida's struggles highlight the fragility of life in a state that faces both economic and environmental challenges. From the sunny shores of Florida, we head to a state where decades of economic decline have left communities searching for a path forward. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, has long been a symbol of America's industrial might. But the decline of coal and steel industries has left many communities struggling to adapt. The poverty rate in Pennsylvania stands at 12.2%, and the median household income is $72,627. Cities like Pittsburgh and Scranton have seen significant economic decline, with entire neighborhoods falling into poverty as factories shut down. Housing in Pennsylvania is relatively affordable, with the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment around $1,200. However, for low-income families, even this can be a stretch. In Philadelphia, nearly 40% of renters are cost-burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Healthcare access is another challenge. Approximately 6.4% of Pennsylvanians are uninsured, and rural areas face significant shortages of medical providers. For residents like Mary in central Pennsylvania, getting to a doctor often means a long drive on winding country roads. Homelessness is also a growing issue. In 2024, over 14,000 Pennsylvanians were reported homeless, with many living in shelters or transitional housing. Despite these challenges, Pennsylvania is working to rebuild. Programs like the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency are helping families secure affordable housing, while initiatives like the Keystone Economic Development and Workforce Command Center aim to retrain workers for new industries. Pittsburgh, once the heart of America's steel industry, is now a hub for technology and healthcare innovation, offering hope for the state's future. As we've journeyed through these struggling states, it's clear that the American dream feels out of reach for far too many. From the coalfields of West Virginia to the hurricane-battered communities of Louisiana, these stories are not just statistics, they're the lives of real people fighting to survive in the face of overwhelming challenges. But amidst the hardship, there's hope. Communities are stepping up, nonprofits are making an impact, and individuals are showing resilience that proves the human spirit is stronger than any crisis. These struggles remind us of the importance of empathy and collective action. If we want to see real change, it starts with awareness, followed by action. So, let's continue to shine a light on these issues, support the organizations making a difference, and advocate for a future where no one is left behind. If this video opened your eyes to the realities faced by millions, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps spread awareness and keeps important conversations alive. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.